Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And there seems to be some shady shenanigans going on in the SNP, just for a change. This time it's involving their new chief executive, Murray Foote, who helped, of course, to dismiss the old chief executive, Peter Murrell. But there is kind of a bit of a weirdness going on with regards to the general election campaign, and people are trying to keep Murray Foote well away from the public and the campaign in general. They don't want him anywhere near this. He's the general secretary of the party. He's the chief executive. He's the man overseeing everything. And yet he is being kept very much shrouded and away. Presumably because of his connections to the previous shadiness under Peter Murrell. And so, they don't want any awkward questions raised, perhaps. But it does seem awkward enough. Having a man involved with lying about numbers just a year ago, now being the chief executive of the organisation. You know, it's not a good look, is it? The optics are pretty bad, but then that's Murray Foote. The optics aren't good with him at all anyway. But let's have a look, see why he's been hidden away, kept out of sight, and not allowed access to the public, lest they ask questions perhaps. Here goes. It's hard to think these things all happened just 1 year ago. You know, the downfall of Murrell, the resignation of Nicola Sturgeon, and then very shortly afterwards all the arrests. And all of this coming initially to light simply because of the lack of numbers and the clarity on the numbers. And then it all fell apart very, very quickly. If they'd have told the truth from the beginning, none of this would ever have happened. However, if they'd have told the truth from the beginning, no one would ever have voted for them. The truth is such a terrible thing to the SNP after all. But anyway, Murray Foote kept away from the SNP general election campaign in a bloody odd snub. No one wants him. No one wants him front and centre because of the shadiness around him. The former journalist and architect of The Vow is taking on a less hands-on approach than his predecessor in the role of Peter Murrell. He, of course, was very much involved in everything, finger in every pies, a finger in every pocket, perhaps. The SNP's chief executive will not be involved in key decision-making in the party's general election campaign, it has emerged. Murray Foote was handed the nearly £100,000 a year role after Murrell stood down. The former journalist had previously been the party's head of communications at Holyrood, but stood down during the leadership contest after he misled the public about the SNP's party's membership. Now, it was, to be fair, and we'll just do a quick clarification, Murray Foote claimed there was like 130,000, turned out there was 75,000, but to the fairness of Murray Foote, Peter Murrell told him there was 130,000. So I will give Murray Foote the benefit of that doubt. I do believe Murrell would have lied to him because I believe Murrell would lie to everyone. Mr. Foote is a controversial figure among nationalists. As editor of the Daily Record, he was the architect of The Vow in the lead up to the 2014 independence referendum, promising more powers to the Scottish Parliament. And despite taking on a leading role in the party, the Herald reports that he will not be in charge of the candidate nominations, the ballot papers, or the reporting of campaign expenditure, despite all these having been the responsibility of Mr. Murrell. It has led to claims from insiders that it was bloody odd, although the SNP claims it's simple organisational change, or possibly that they don't want him involved in the same way and level as that potential old crook. Got to be careful how I describe him, but potential old crook. Certainly a liar, we can say that without doubt, but you can't go any more than that just yet. The insider said Murray Foote's situation is unusual. In fact, he said it's completely bloody odd. It's not something that's been done historically. Maybe he's trying to say semi-detached from reality. Mr. Foote took over from Mr. Murrell, who's married to Nicola Sturgeon. A lovely little lavender marriage there. Just convenience. They both use each other as a beard. He was arrested last year in relation to Operation Branchform. And despite being hailed by party leader Humza Yousaf, some members are said to be unimpressed at his lack of practical experience. I presume they're talking about Murray Foote, a man who's never had anything like this before. his background is, well, communications and journalism. So yeah, bring him on board, but as your communications chief, not as a CEO. He's never run an organisation, has he? While Murrell oversaw a period of unprecedented success for the Nats, Mr Foote has seen a series of council by-election defeats, as well as the crushing loss to Labour in Rutherglen and Hamilton West. Oh boy, did we enjoy that one. I remember watching the footage and the results were announced, and Dame Jackie Bailey in the studio sitting there like the smile, like the cat that got the cream. And who was it that was sitting next to her now? Oh, Brown. Oh, Brown Trousers. And he was sitting there and he was miserable. Absolutely miserable. But then he always is, isn't he? Miss Sturgeon was the party leader and Colin Beattie was the party treasurer at the last Scottish election. All three have been arrested in relation to the police probe. Blah, 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 blah. We know all that. Just around this, an SNP spokesperson said there's no requirement for either of these two statutory positions to be held by a chief executive, and other major parties have a variety of arrangements in place. Yeah, no one's saying he needs to be involved in all of these particular areas, but you'd think as chief executive he'd be involved at least one, and certainly on campaign costs and accounting. That, of course, would be his complete and utter raison d'etre. Why else would you have him there if not to control that kind of thing? Very weird. Very weird indeed. It's almost as though they don't trust him, they don't understand him, they don't think that he's capable, and yet he's found himself there. I don't know, was it Buggins' turn, perhaps? Or maybe no one else wanted the role. Who knows? 100,000 a year, though, plus expenses. It's a sweet little nothing, isn't it? Still, if they can afford to pay that, you know, you have to what else they're paying. He's not even the most highly paid person in the SNP, and he's their chief executive officer. It's amazing, isn't it? Anyway, I shall stop there, round off and come up. Maybe the reason they don't want him front and centre is he's fairly charmless. He's unpleasant. He's not someone who could go on to an interview on the TV, say, and come across as someone that you'd want to vote for, even though you don't. He's not an elected official or anything like that. He's just simply a backdoor man, isn't he? He's the guy that sits there and oversees like the spider at the centre of its web. Although, guarantee he's not really in charge of the party. We all know that Nicola Sturgeon is still pulling all the strings. Mr Foote is merely a little glove pup. No, string puppet. Humza's the glove puppet. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.